Hey guys, welcome to Apex Custom Rifles. This is Brett. So what I got here is a project that I'm going to put together, and I'll show you guys. I'll put it together. There's not much to it. It's basically bolting this thing together more or less. But I've got a customer that wanted to get into NRL 22, and he might have a little grandson that might want to run with him to some of these matches. So we needed to build something that both of them could use if need be. He didn't want to go full custom, so like a Voodoo or a Rimex like that, but a lot of the parts here we could actually upgrade and or use as is and put a Rimex in all this stuff. So the base of what we're doing this here is off a Bergara B14R trainer. This is a pretty nice, pretty decent setup. I haven't shot this yet, but this is a Remington 40X clone basically. So this is a Remington 700 small action footprint, and then the bolt is where do I got the bolt here? Here it is. It is a, typical 40X style bolt. He wanted a chassis with a little more adjustability and some other stuff on there. We can do like the Arca rail and stuff like that. So we're ditching this stock, although it's a pretty decent stock. And we're going to go with the Aero Precision chassis. And the reason we did this is cost is a little less than like an MDT or an MPA, but this chassis, I think for the money, and I gave him a little bit of a deal on it, but for the money, it's not bad in my opinion. There's a few things on it that show why it's cost cutting and why it's not as expensive as like an MDT, but it's got a bag rider. It's plastic, but better than nothing. Cheek riser, plastic, and it's got really nice thumb screws on this thing for adjustable cheek height and length of pull. And the knobs on here I really like. That's what I don't like on my MDT, on my PRS rifles. The knobs are so tiny on that thing. When you tighten them up or you try to loosen them up, they're really hard to grab hold of without destroying your fingers and hurting really bad. It's got a thumb shelf here. That's plastic. It's adjustable. Plastic handle there. That's AR-15 style. You could replace that out. One of the cost cutting measures on this thing, I think, and how they get away with doing this is, there's several pieces here. This is a separate piece, this is a separate piece, this is a separate piece, and then this forearm rail here is a separate piece as well. So there's two screws holding it and two basically pins, which look like QD mounts. Those hold it this way, and then the two screws will hold it in place. Full Arca rail on the bottom here, M-locks. It's kind of a wedge-shaped bedding area here, but for this application, I think it's going to work out very well because they can, if both of them want to use the rifle, they could quickly change the length of pull, mark it where each shooter shoots it, and move it like in a few seconds. Excuse me. Alright, so we got that, and we're going to put a Vortex Strike Eagle on there. It's a 525 by 56 EBR 7C Mill Red reticle. That'll be a pretty nice setup for this with NRL 22. Probably more than you ever need for that. And a few of the other things we're going to do is we're going to put a Trigger Tech Diamond on there. Good trigger. A lot of PRS guys use those. And we're going to put some Hawkins ultra lightweight tactical rings on there. These work pretty well. They got a bubble level on top, but I don't ever use that. I use these on a lot of lightweight hunting rifles. They work extremely well. They hold the scope really tight, and they have a good mounting system to lock that thing onto your rail. The other thing is we're going to do an Area 419 30-minute rail for 22. We're doing a 30-minute on there. And with that scope, we should get plenty of travel up and down with that. The last thing we're going to put on it, we might put a tuner on it, I think. He's bringing that. But we're going to do the AccuTac. I believe it's the FC5. Yes, the FC5 Arca rail mount bipod on there. So he's pretty stout little bipod. And I think that should work pretty well. It's got cant and rotation there, so we'll throw that on last. That's a simple, easy thing to put on. So I'm going to start putting this thing together. And of course, as always, YouTube doesn't like seeing things bolted together. So I'll probably start with the chassis, get that in there, and the trigger, and we'll take this Bergara apart and we'll take a look at it here. Alrighty, so let's take this guy. That's torqued down pretty good. Take this guy out. And I believe these triggers on these B14s are adjustable, but they only go down to, I want to say 2 pounds, give or take. And they do have this one anyways, before, I haven't messed with it, but it does have a lot of over travel in it, so let's see if we can get that off there. And that is metal, so that's a plus. I don't believe we'll need those. I think the new one comes with it. So look at that, it does have metal, appears to have metal pillars. It does have metal pillars in there, so you know, a little bit of bedding behind the recoil lug there, and actually this probably wouldn't be a horrible stock to use. It'd probably be pretty good. You could actually take this and throw a 700 in it too if you wanted. Use that for something else. So, and I think all the Bergaras are like this. They have this recessed recoil in there, which captures the recoil lug, which is kind of a nice feature of the Bergaras for a floating recoil lug. That works pretty well. Not much to look at, I guess, outside of that. This trigger we're going to ditch. So, of course, 2 pins there. I'll pop that out, throw the trigger tech in there, and we'll test that trigger tech and see how that does. Alright, so there we have our trigger tech diamond installed. And, of course, instantly, it's a way nicer trigger. These diamonds are nice triggers. I do like them. For the money, they're pretty good. So there, that's already a way better looking setup than what we started with. So easy. The next thing we'll do is throw in the chassis. And that's just simple as can be. For this particular setup, we're just going to drop it in here. We're going to screw it down. We're not going to worry about any bedding or anything. So it goes in there just like that. And of course, we're going to have to, there we go. Yep. So I'll just tighten that down. Remember to move that thing back up, tighten the recoil lug up against the chassis. So I'll do that quick and then we'll continue on here. Alright, so one thing I note with these Bergaras, the trigger pins will stick out a little bit sometimes. So, and I've had to do this on a few random ones, but sometimes you go in here and just relieve that area in there so the trigger pins don't hit. So we're going to throw this back in there now and check it out. Alright, there we go. So now it's in the chassis. And it fits nice. Pads here and pads all across here, so it fits nice and it doesn't pull down. The other thing I had to do with this, because this action is, I don't know if it's thinner or whatever, but I had to shorten this front trigger guard screw up, and so I threw it in the lathe and shortened it about not quite 1/8 of an inch to fit with this action. It should still work with a 700 if you wanted to use it with a 700, but it was a tad bit long for this particular action. So there we go. Alright, next thing we're going to do is probably throw the scope base on and mount the scope. So we got the Area 419 30-minute rail here. We're going to throw that guy on and we're going to put some blue Loctite on there and torque it. Usually about 20 pounds is 18 to 20 pounds is more than enough. Does it say on here? Sometimes they say on there, but 18 to 20 pounds is usually enough. This scope base comes with 648s or 840s. I believe these are, there might be 840s on there. We'll check it out. And we'll just torque that guy down. And what I use to torque mine down usually is the fix-it sticks. Work pretty well with the torque. I got a torque adapter here, and that works pretty well. I'm going to get to attaching that, and we'll see. Once I get this thing leveled out, I've got a specific way that I do this. I've got a little proprietary scope leveling thing that I'm working on. So to get these things dead level no matter what you do every time. And it's very easy to use, very simple to use, but I haven't finished it yet, so still a work in progress, but this will work. So I'm going to throw this guy on and we'll check it out. Alright, got the rings on there, got those torqued down, got the scope base on there, and now we're going to put this guy on there. So the trick here is we want to get eye relief. So I just kind of eyeball that for people. Everybody's a little bit different, but with these higher quality scopes, you can usually get really good eye relief. And the trick to getting this level is I've got some little, I don't know what these are called. They're not planar gauges, but they're little parallels, adjustable parallels. And I can usually fit those underneath there, although this one's pretty tight because I got this one down about as far as it's going to go. And level off the scope base rail. That's not always a dead set way to get these level, but it will get you really close. I've got like I said before, I've got a thing that I'm working on that'll allow you to put these scopes on as long as the gun is level. Well, it doesn't even, well, yeah, you want the gun level, and then once you put my little device on there, you can get this scope on there dead nuts every time. So I'm going to go through and do that whole process. Another way to do it, if you don't have a little planar gauge like that, or a little set of adjustable parallels to get underneath here, you can get feeler gauges. That works too. You just kind of get an idea, you know, say you're right in there, and you can stick this guy under there. That's even too much. Stick that under there, get it pretty close, and then it'll get it pretty close to level with your rail. And for a lot of, you know, not match rifles, but for a lot of hunting type style rifles with a good quality scope, that'll usually get you pretty close. I'm going to go through, do my whole thing on this, get it set up to where I want it, and hopefully have the guy look through it when he comes to pick it up, and we'll make sure everything's set up right. We can always move this forward and backward a little bit with the scope rings, but we'll try and get it close, and then we'll get it mounted here. Alright, well that's it. I know I didn't go into a lot of depth about how I do a lot of this stuff. Not that a lot of this is, other than the scope leveling, it's all pretty simple, but a few little tweaks here and there needed for this chassis to fit this Bergara, and other than that, it's pretty simple. Not much to it. So this would be a perfect little setup if somebody at home wanted to order this stuff. You know, you could get all this stuff, go pick up a Bergara B14R trainer and swap it over into all these parts, and you'd be good to go. And I guess the last thing here is let's throw this guy on there. Let's see how that works out. Pretty. There we go. Here we go. All right, look at that thing. Let's go over here and set it up and see what it looks like on the ground. Well, there it is. Not a bad little 22 for somebody. I should have fun with that, doing a little NRL 22. There's always stuff you can add to it. Probably put a scope level on it yet, an external level, a few other things. There's the thing for the focus there, the quick focus there. We're gonna put that lever on. But yeah, should be a cool little 22 there. Should be fun. I don't know if I'm gonna go shoot it, but the owner will shoot it, and if nothing else, and he will report back to me, and I will let you guys know how well it did. I think this will be a pretty good setup. And like I said, even if you wanted to go over and switch it into a Voodoo or a Rim-X, that would be very simple to do. Swap the scope base and swap the chassis system out, and you're good to go. So there you go. You guys got any questions, comments? If you let me know how you think it's going to shoot. Till next time, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that like button. It helps me. It doesn't cost you nothing. So till next time, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.